Let's be honest for a moment. There's a specific kind of silence that happens when the rest of the world goes to sleep. It's 2 a.m., the house is quiet, the notifications on your phone have finally stopped, and you are left alone with your thoughts. It's in these moments that the mask comes off. You don't have to pretend to be strong, successful, or fine. And it is exactly in this stillness that the divine presence is most attentive. I want you to know something profound right now. God sees the weariness that has settled into your bones. Not just the physical tiredness from working hard or taking care of your family, but that deep spiritual fatigue, the kind that comes from carrying burdens you never speak about. I'm talking about the anxieties you swallow down to keep the peace, the sorrows you hide to protect the people you love. You might feel like you're shouting into a void, but you are not invisible. There has been a season of endurance in your life. You've been in the waiting room, haven't you? Watching others get their breakthroughs while you sit holding on to a faith that feels increasingly fragile. But listen closely. That season is concluding. The waiting wasn't punishment, it was preparation. A shift is happening. It's the difference between a pause and a full stop, and you are not at a full stop. When the Creator calls your name, it isn't just for identification, it is an act of authority. Think about it. When a parent calls a child, or a king calls a subject, it initiates action. By acknowledging you personally, God is setting a new reality into motion. Even if your physical eyes can't see the landscape changing yet, the atmosphere has already shifted. We often fall into the trap of thinking our lives are a series of random, chaotic events. We think that missed opportunity was just bad luck, or that delay was just an accident. But there is a divine architecture to your life. Those random moments of stillness, that friction you've been feeling, it's part of a perfect design. You are being positioned for a release of pressure that you haven't felt in years. The struggle wasn't meaningless. It was the tension on the bowstring before the arrow flies. Divine protection and the value of quiet virtues. Have you ever looked back at your life and realized that the worst things that happened to you were actually the best things that could have happened? At the time, that rejection felt like a door slamming in your face. That relationship ending felt like the ground crumbling beneath you. But with the clarity of hindsight, you realize that wasn't rejection. That was protection. God often steers us away from paths that look glittering and gold to the human eye, but are actually lined with traps. That job you didn't get, it might have destroyed your mental health. That person who walked away, they might have derailed your destiny. What you mourned as a loss was actually God's hand gently shielding you from a future you weren't built to survive. And while the world is busy applauding the loud, the flashy, and the aggressive, heaven is taking notes on something entirely different. We live in a culture that obsesses over hustle and visibility. But God cherishes the quiet virtues that go viral in the spiritual realm, even if they get 0 likes on social media. I'm talking about your quiet empathy, the way you listen when you're tired, the way you gave generously when your own bank account was low, the way you swallowed your pride to maintain harmony in a chaotic family dinner. You think these moments went unnoticed because no one thanked you? Absolutely not. These are the credentials of your character. There is a vindication coming for you. And I don't mean revenge. Revenge is low vibration. I mean witness. Those who doubted your integrity, those who judged your journey or mocked your faith, they won't necessarily be punished, but they will be forced to witness the table God is preparing for you. We are moving into a time of replacement. Where there was distress, tranquility is taking root. Where there was distance in your relationships, intimacy is returning. And where there was that gnawing sense of not enough, that scarcity mindset that keeps you up at night, provision is flowing in. The narrative is flipping. You played the long game with integrity, and the dividends are finally about to pay out. Restoration of family, health, and breaking negative patterns. Let's talk about legacy. Not just what you leave in a will, but what you leave in the DNA of your family line. Many of you reading this are the cycle breakers. You looked at the dysfunction, the addiction, the poverty, or the emotional distance in your family history, and you decided, it stops with me. That kind of resilience is exhausting. It feels like swimming upstream while everyone else is floating down. But your resilience and your stubborn faith in the face of difficulty have not been in vain. The waiting period is over, and the fruit of that labor is ripening. We are entering a season of profound restoration. And this isn't just about you getting a blessing. It's about cleaning up the timeline for your descendants. The struggles that have plagued your parents and grandparents, those repeating loops of hardship, are being dissolved. Because you stood firm, the road is being paved smoothly for your children and the generations after them. You took the hits so they wouldn't have to. And for the battles you are currently fighting, you need to know that you have a protector. You are not entering the ring alone. God acts as a warrior on your behalf against the malice and ill intent of others. You don't need to fight every critic. Let the divine handle the defense while you focus on the offense of living your life. This restoration is holistic. We often separate our spiritual life from our real life, but God doesn't. This renewal touches your physical health, strengthening the weary body that has carried so much stress. It touches your mental state, clearing the fog of depression and anxiety. And perhaps most beautifully, it touches your home. I'm talking about the atmosphere at your dinner table, the return of genuine connection, conversations that go deeper than how was your day, the healing of rifts between siblings or spouses, the restoration of joy in your sanctuary. The patterns of trauma are shattering, not because you were perfect, but because you were faithful. The heavy chains are falling, and the sound of their impact is the sound of your freedom. Roadmap, the provision, and the new tribe. Have you ever felt like you were walking through a thick fog? You're moving, you're trying to do the right thing, but you have absolutely no idea where you are actually going. We've all been there. It's that feeling of spinning your wheels, working hard, but feeling spiritually and emotionally lost. But I want you to listen closely. The fog is lifting. Right now, God is making the path plain. The confusion that has clouded your judgment, that analysis paralysis, where every decision feels dangerous, is evaporating. You are entering a season of clarity. Things that used to puzzle you, the closed doors that made no sense, are suddenly going to click into place. You'll look back and say, oh, that's why that didn't work out. And this clarity extends to your spiritual life, too. You know, for many of us, reading scripture or trying to understand ancient wisdom can feel like reading a manual in a foreign language. It feels dry, distant, but that is changing. As God speaks your name in this season, those words are going to jump off the page. It won't feel like history anymore. It will feel like a personal letter addressed to you, postmarked for today. You won't just read the promise. You will feel the author of the promise sitting right beside you. Now let's talk about something that keeps most of us awake at night: provision. In our modern world, we are conditioned to believe in the grind. We think that if we stop running on the hamster wheel, we'll starve. We believe that everything we have comes solely from our own sweat and stress. But God is challenging that mindset today. He is reminding you that He is the source. You do not have to toil endlessly just to survive. There is a difference between working hard with purpose and striving out of fear. The season of striving is ending. You are moving into a flow state where provision meets you. Financial breaks, resources, opportunities, they won't come because you forced a door open, but because the owner of the house opened it for you. And finally, perhaps the most painful part of growth, relationships. I know you felt the sting of loneliness recently. You've noticed people drifting away, or maybe sudden conflicts that ended long-term friendships. It hurts. We are social creatures, we crave connection. But hear this, those exits were not accidents, they were evictions. God has been clearing the room. He removed people who were anchoring you to your past, people who were comfortable with your pain, but threatened by your healing. He protected you from connections that were secretly toxic. And now that the space is cleared, get ready for the new. New relationships are entering your life. These aren't just drinking buddies or people to kill time with. These are healthy, soul-nourishing connections. People who will pour into you just as much as you pour into them. People who don't need you to shrink so they can feel big. You are being aligned with your true tribe. So, don't mourn the empty chairs at your table. They are being prepared for guests who actually deserve to sit there. Vindication and freedom from human judgment. Let's be real about something we rarely admit. Is exhausting to be misunderstood. Is draining to be the person who always gives, always forgives, and always shows up, only to be treated like an option or, worse, a nuisance. You have sown seeds of kindness in rocky soil for years. You have prayed for people who gossiped about you. You have sacrificed in secret, wiped your own tears, and then went out to help others wipe theirs. And sometimes in the quiet of the night, you wonder, does anyone even see this? Does it even matter? Here is the answer. It was never missed. Not a single moment. God has kept the receipts. We are entering a powerful time of public vindication. And I want to be clear about what this means. This isn't about God striking down your enemies with lightning. It's better than that. It's about God elevating you in such an undeniable way that your life becomes the evidence of His favor. The things that were stolen from you, the opportunities that were snatched away, the credit that was taken by someone else, the joy that was drained by toxic environments, it's all coming back. But here is the divine principle. When God restores, He doesn't just give you back what you lost. He gives you back more. It's the principle of the sevenfold return. You aren't just getting your time back, you're getting redemption of that time. You aren't just getting your joy back, you're getting a joy that is deeper and more resilient than before. This brings us to a beautiful liberation, the freedom from having to explain yourself. How much energy have you wasted trying to prove your worth to people who were committed to misunderstanding you? How many times have you over-explained your decisions, your faith, or your boundaries? That stops today. The approval of God is the only credential you need. When you have the Creator's validation, you stop starving for the applause of the crowd. You realize that you don't need to defend yourself because you have a celestial advocate. Let people think what they want. Let them have their narratives. You are free from the court of public opinion. And with this freedom comes a new gift, discernment and eloquence. Have you ever been in a situation where you didn't know what to say, or you said too much and regretted it? As this restoration takes hold, you will find a new sharpness in your spirit. You will know exactly when to speak and when to stay silent. And let me tell you, there is immense power in holy silence. God is giving you the wisdom to navigate complex situations with grace. When you do speak, your words will have weight. They will land with impact. You won't be speaking out of emotion or defense. You will be speaking out of authority. So take a deep breath. Release the need to control how others perceive you. Release the bitterness over the credit you didn't get. It has all been recorded. The scales are balancing. You are being cleared of charges you didn't even know were brought against you. Walk with your head high, not in arrogance, but in the quiet, unshakable confidence of someone who knows exactly who protects them. The divine timing and the mission to spread light. There is a concept in spiritual philosophy known as appointed time. We live in an on-demand culture where we want our coffee instant, our internet blazing fast, and our prayers answered yesterday. When things don't happen on our schedule, we panic. We think God has forgotten us. But I need you to understand a fundamental truth. God is never early, and He is never late. If a blessing comes too early, you might not have the character to sustain it. If it comes too late, it loses its purpose. Every promise made to you is scheduled for a perfect moment, a specific coordinate in time where your readiness meets God's opportunity. So, if you are in a waiting period right now, stop looking at the clock and start looking at your heart. You aren't being ignored. You are being prepared for a delivery that requires precise timing. And how do you navigate while you wait? You trust the internal compass. That gut feeling you get? That sudden hesitation before signing a contract? That inexplicable urge to call an old friend? Stop dismissing those feelings as random thoughts. That is the voice of the divine speaking through your intuition. Is your spiritual GPS. It's designed to steer you away from decisions that look good on paper, but are destructive in reality. When you learn to trust those quiet nudges, you stop walking into traps and start walking into destiny. Because here is the bigger picture. Your life is not meant to be a constant struggle for survival. You were not created just to pay bills, manage stress, and get by until the end. You were created to flourish. You are meant to be a reservoir, not just a cup. When you thrive, you become a source of healing for everyone around you. Your victory becomes a blueprint for someone else who is losing hope. You become the lighthouse for another person's storm. This brings us to our final shared mission. If the words in this video resonated with you, if you felt a stirring in your spirit that said, "This is for me," then do not let this moment end here. Truth is not meant to be hoarded, it is meant to be circulated. There is someone in your circle, maybe a friend, a family member, or someone you haven't spoken to in years, who is drowning in silence right now. They are praying for a sign. By sharing this message, you become that sign. You become the vessel that carries God's comfort to a broken heart. So, I invite you to take that small step of faith. Share this truth. Connect with others in the comments. Let's build a community that doesn't just consume hope, but spreads it. Your breakthrough is tied to your willingness to be a blessing. Walk in that authority today.